Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud. And this is All Stars 2, episode 10. It Takes Two. And I have a single page of notes, and we're going to try and get through this as soon as possible because I can already tell my voice is going again. But, hey man, this is what I got written down. The final starts after Darrell and Janelle won their elimination, right? And it was a grueling thing. Like, how long did they have to smash that room, to defeat Brad and Jody? And this is what I'm getting at, right? They're like, it starts right now. I'd be pissed if I was Darrell. And it turns out Darrell doesn't, he's always just like, fuck you, TJ. Like, remember when he was smashing? Like, there was a picture of TJ. He's like, thankfully I get to hit that, I would be extremely pissed off at TJ, assuming he is willing to be the figurehead for all of production, because I don't think TJ's like, you know what, man, that fucking sleep deprivation is cool. Can we start with that? I don't know, just the whole time, because not only is it sleep deprivation at the very beginning, but it's not like Darrell and Janelle were able to rehydrate and eat food, and no one else is going to be able to eat breakfast. They're just going to run all day. Remember, this ends with the sundown, So, I don't know. I really don't like the sleep deprivation and the not feeding them thing. That's pretty goddamn cruel. If this was put on a major network NBC, you would imagine a lot of people would be talking about isn't that kind of inhumane? That's kind of really kind of fucked up that you make these people do that. That really didn't sit well with me the entire time. That just kept on. That was always there in my head. I'm like, that's not right, TJ. If I don't think TJ has any thoughts or ideas really. I think it's he's just the figurehead or whatever for production, and production is full of fucking assholes and Okay, but before we go on, I just complained right there. I will say that this final was pretty impressive, just in terms of how demanding it was. The entire season, I thought the missions were kind of low key. They were just all kind of yeah, okay, I guess, because the All Stars won. They were way more demanding, more challenging, more grueling, more everything. And you wouldn't think that they would have had these older people do that. And that resulted in a lot of injuries and, yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if they were like, holy shit, maybe we should step back, or they were truly out of good ideas this season. But I didn't feel like they really tested the boundaries on those older bodies of theirs, But this one did. This final was pretty impressive just in terms of that, where they're like, okay, good. You're truly asking a lot out of these people, and it's interesting to watch. Let's see here. Okay, so sleep deprivation shouldn't happen, especially as an opener. I mean, I don't like to watch the sleeping deprivation thing. It's actually boring. I don't think there's ever been an exciting sleep deprivation sequence, and to have that as the opener doesn't really make any sense, because what makes those other sequences happen is it's truly it's sandwiched in between an actual final. When someone has worked so hard all day and then they have to stay up, that's messed up by itself. But you could also have people saying oh my god, dude, we bonded, they'll talk about all the shit that they did in that first leg of the final, that first day, there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to talk about here. The only people that have anything to talk about is Darrell and Janelle, and they're not even in the same spot ever. One's sleeping, one's standing up. And Darrell's not gonna fucking talk about his experiences anyways. So I don't know. It was so weird to open with a sleep deprivation. Whatever. If I was a producer, I would cut that out entirely. I'm like, it's who wants to watch people not even there, where they're like, huh, what? Oh, I'm on camera. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like watching it. I don't like seeing it. Let's talk about part 1. Biking with puzzle blocks. Yeah, you had to bike together, tied together, and then go 14 times for those heavy puzzle blocks hanging on your back and bike. All I have written down is Darrell with his line about Ayanna. He's like, Ayanna's guerrilla warfare. She's sneaky about it, but she knows what she's doing. And yeah, that really, I could see that, What was she doing? She was like pretending that she couldn't get over far enough or whatever. So Janelle and Darrell kind of like clash bikes. And then Janelle, like right away, when they were loading up, they were like, hey, do you mind if we go ahead of you? Because she's just saying like, we do tend to go faster than you guys. And Ayanna's like, nope, sorry, I can't. And and Darrell and Ayanna are going back and forth. Like, that was an awesome little thing in the final. That was cool to see. Like, and also, I think Ayanna reminds me a lot about, reminds me of my own sister. There's certainly some similarities and stuff like that. So, I was wondering, I was like, man, that Ayanna, she's, she could be frustrating, she could be hilarious, she could be like cool, she could have like, she's all this different stuff. But I'm like, but why am I kind of like used to it or something like that? I don't know. But yeah, it's because it's basically Myra. Let's see here. Oh, cave decode. Oh yeah, this is where, like, they're supposed to run into the nucleus first, right? And that's where all the directions are and stuff, and that's where you bring in your puzzles and all that stuff. So Melinda and Nehemiah, they recognize some arrows, some different arrows, blue arrows. And I think they tried to cheat, right? Or not cheat, but like, they're like, hey, we already know we have to like run to different paths because that's what TJ said. He was just like, hey, run to the nucleus and that's where you'll find out where these other things are. You know what I mean? So they, I don't know. They made that decision, and maybe I would have made the same one as well. They were just like, let's just cut to here. Let's get this thing started and stuff. So they get to the cave, and it's like dark as shit, and right away Melinda's gonna be like, fuck, and like, Melinda has a potty mouth this final. I kind of like it. Everything was like, oh, fuck this, fuck me, and shit like that. And like, she's fucking hurting her ankle and shit. And yeah, she's just so foul-mouthed. It was actually kind of, yeah, it was really cool. I don't know. Why do I like swearing? Let's break that down. Let's see here. My parents swore a lot around the house. So I remember as soon as I was old enough, I was like, fuck yeah, man. I swear as well. I don't know. What do we got here? Memory match game. Oh yeah. This is where Darrell and Janelle, they follow the wrong arrows with the flashlight. So like when they get to the memory thing instead of the cave, Darrell's like, he's got the light on there. It's like, is this supposed to work? And again, that's hilarious, but at the same time, poor fucking dude. He's like, everyone's sleep deprived, but especially him and Janelle. They did that elimination. and you still didn't let them rehydrate and eat. Like, that's so messed up. Cut that shit out. That is mean. That's not entertaining to me. You fuckers. Okay. And then I have part 2. Oh, I suppose. Oh, but before we get to that, of course. Okay, so part 1 does eventually end. Nehemiah and Melinda actually finish first. Like, good for them. Holy crap. Then I believe it was, Darrell and Janelle. And at the same time, Ayanna and Tack, or Ayanna's like, oh my gosh, I think I might quit. Meanwhile, Janae is running along with MJ, and she's like, oh my god, fuck this, I fucking quit. Like, she's just so, they're both broken. And one will quit. One didn't. She wanted to. I mean, it really seemed that way, but I loved how MJ kind of stopped. He's like, could you stop? Just hold on, and he just kind of smiled and stuff, and she kind of like rests her head on his chest. And that just gave him that one spot to just relax, get your wits together and, just breathe or whatever. And so they continued on going. But Ayanna didn't. Ayanna's like, no, this is done. And TJ gives the performance of a lifetime by not, ripping out into her like he always has done for eons, He used to pride himself on how he's like, oh my god, I don't like quitters and shit like that. But he gives him the fist bump. But then, in a very kind of like passive aggressive backhanded way, he's like standing right by them, and then he like just honks the fucking horn right in their fucking face. Okay, so when this happens, apparently, because this is what we see on screen, MJ and Janae, they finish, right? Or they finish. They don't finish. They come back, right? They didn't actually finish their thing, right? What was it, memory? Yeah. Behind the scenes, apparently, was a gigantic fuck up or controversial, thing, because I guess Darrell and Nehemiah, Melinda, Janelle, and I would be too, they were just like, they didn't finish their puzzle at all. They just came back, and I'm sure producers were like, well, because technically Tech and Ayanna, they quit or whatever. But it's interesting because in an interview post-win, spoilers, MJ and Janae win, they were talking about like how they wanted to finish the memory thing, even though producers were like, stop, it's okay, Ayanna quit, and they're like, no, I want to do it, and they're like, no, we're losing light. And it kind of I could kind of believe that, but it is weird that I don't know, how would you feel like if you were Darrell or Janelle, Nehemiah or Melinda, and they didn't have to finish because they're gonna win this whole thing, and the production fuck ups don't stop there. All right, we'll get into the second portion of that. So right away you're just like, what the, all right, let's get to part 2. The eating portion. Oh no, real quick. All the points in the world to Tech handling that shit and with stride. Just like, Jesus Christ, like that is very disappointing. Like Ayanna was like a force of nature, and then she quit. Although I don't know. Did she train for this? That's all I'm going to say. How about that? So, yeah, I thought Tech, him not getting mad. I mean, have we ever really seen him mad, actually? Him just like, all right, I want to see Tech back. Tech should be here to stay. I like him a lot. All right, moving on to part 2, the eating portion. And then you gotta run to the end of the plane course what is it called? Road. Damn it. What is it called? I don't know. But there's there's algebra on cards, and you got to figure it out, with pictures and stuff. And then you run, and then you get to a safe. You put in that code. Then once you win, you still have to do shit. You have to carry $500,000 to a jet, and then share that very jet in close proximity with TJ right there. So right away, the eating thing. Okay, so there was blood, a cup of blood, fisheye tostada, cricket burrito, and the scorpion roaches nachos. Yeah, it's all very gross. I think the scorpion was almost just like a jalapeno pepper on a nacho. You just only got one, because I think it was mostly roaches in those nachos. And I love nachos, and if you're gonna sully it with that, although maybe they're like, hey, we actually do put roaches in our nachos. It's a delicacy down here. I don't know shit about other people's cultures, really. But I kind of doubt it. It's probably production was just like, I'm a fucking asshole, and like Nehemiah did this one thing, so I want to make sure he has to eat roaches in this final. Fuck him, I don't know. I just think that the toxic writer's room that is the production coming up with all this fucked up shit is I'd like to be in on it, just to hear it. Oh my gosh, that'd be great. And I'm sure truly horrible, because in a writer's room, all the shit that doesn't work, that other people shoot down, could be absolutely horrific. They're like, we can't put that on TV. Okay, so with all that being said, what was it? Darrell and Janelle finish eating first. Then MJ and Joanna, then Nehemiah and Melinda. Melinda fucking hoofing it with a hurt hoof. I mean, Melinda was so cool in this thing, and again with the potty mouth. They get to the algebra thing. Darrell's like, "This is not my thing." Thinking, like he's so anti-reading. He's so, you know what I mean? He's just like, this is what I know. He's a boxer and shit. Like, I know how to box. I know how to run in a final. Like, he can do all this shit. But, like, when it comes to, like, puzzles, he's like, nope, that's usually for my partner. He had Aviv do all the math in Fresh Meat 1, There's other examples. But, yeah, I mean, now it's just a giant hole. A giant flaw in the... Because I was thinking, before this final started, I was like, you know what? If Darrell wins this, that'd be great. And so now we have 3 of the greatest finalists to ever do it. Darrell with 4 wins, CT with 5, Bananas with 7. Like, who, if we ever got a final with the 3 of them, just those 3 against each other, duel style, who would win? And I gotta say, Darrell, you do not do puzzles. It's crazy. And that's like that. It was all puzzles in Spies, Lies, and Allies. Remember that? Okay, so on screen, on the TV, Darrell and Janelle finish their algebra first. And they run to the safe. And then followed by MJ and John A. And then followed by Nehemiah and Melinda. And on screen, you see the 3 of them messing around. Like, they can't get the safe to open. And that's just an embarrassment. Like, that is so annoying. Like, on a production scale. And then eventually, they both kind of like, there's instructions right next to it. And I guess which is telling you how to do it, which is what they were doing, except there was an extra part where you have to like then after you put the code in, then do 3 zeros or something like that, right? Something weird. So on screen, you see John A. and MJ get their safe open. You know, Darrell was like, "Oh God, Darrell, why aren't you reading this thing?" That's right. Maybe because you are being terrorized mentally, mental warfare on you. These fucking producers, man. You know, like that can't be healthy. You know, running like what was it like? How many hours of this shit that they do in the biking thing and like the running stuff and how hot it was? It was like 115. You know, and they weren't hydrated or, you know, and sleep deprived. Like, that is fucked up. And I just think that, God damn it. It really upset me. Okay, so anyways, we see them, John A. and MJ get the cash. They go into the jet with TJ. They take off. They win. But apparently on that same interview where John A. and MJ were just like, they didn't allow us to finish the memory thing. We wanted to, but they were like, no. Production was like, no, we're losing light, you know? So the other thing that happened, John A. and MJ were like, we actually finished the algebra part first. By a long time, they said. Because they got to the safe and they put in the code and it wouldn't work, right? And one of the producers were like, you put in the code, and they're like, yeah, and they're like, what's the number? And they were like, said the number, and they did it, and they're like, well, that's it, go, you won, or whatever, you know. So they started running towards the jet without any money, you know, and then they get about halfway to the jet, and then producers show up in a truck, and they're like, get in the goddamn pickup truck, we're driving you back to the safe, you didn't put in the code correctly. And they're like, what? That's not what you know. So they jump in the truck and they drive back, and that's where everyone else is there now. Darrell and Janelle are at the safe, and so is Nehemiah and Melinda, and they're all fucking like what the fuck is going, you know, what's the matter with this safe? So what happens is they get to there, and then they, you know, John A. and MJ, they're just like, okay, it didn't work before, it's still not working, and they just happen to look at the card finally and read the whole thing out, where they found out that extra step or whatever. So thankfully they still won. They still beat, you know, the other team. So then they have to take the cash, carry all that money, get into a jet. So yeah, that was like, that's embarrassing shit. What's going on in that production? Yeah. But overall though, it was, there were some ups and downs. Like I was really, after a while, I wanted Nehemiah and Melinda to win. Yeah, those were my guys. But you know what though? John A. having such an amazing season 1 in All Stars, and for her to come back just as solid and win this thing, like with all that production bullshit, you know, it was still really nice to see. And MJ, he like, you know, he was just some dude until this final. He had some moments. Him and John A. worked. They had some moments together and stuff, and just the way he like just got her to stop and like, you're not gonna quit, that sort of thing. That was cool. You know, there's little moments in a final that are very nice to see. And you know, fuck, Darrell and Janelle, they could have won. We don't know. I mean, if that extra step wasn't there, you know, it's so bizarre, so messed up. And Janelle fucking doing what she did with that bad back. Let's not forget that. Melinda with the bad leg. Man. Well, now it's over. I usually do a sort of like an award show, but I haven't prepared anything. I don't even know who would get nominated and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's the end of the episode. Like, subscribe, comment. This was Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud.